Hello, Hearties, and welcome to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley, hosted by Caroline, myself, Cammie, and Kaycee. Thanks to Brian Bird for letting us use the music on our show. Now grab that paprika-filled shepherd's pie and sit back and relax. Here we go. Welcome back, Hearties. You are listening to the Hearties Hotline, and today we are going to be talking about season 1, episode 10.
10?
10? I know.
My.
Love comes first.
First comes love, then comes marriage.
No,
wait. I guess
I didn't take it like that. I took, instead of the job comes first, love comes first.
Oh, good point.
That's how I took it because of the fact that instead of going on to his assignment, Jack goes back. So
somebody does.
Hashtag Jack is back, right?
Hit the road, Jack, but please come back.
Come back some more. Shall we hit that road?
We shall. And I just have to say, I love when these episode stories continue into the next episode, because once again, last week we were talking about everything going on and we were like, well, there's no resolution. We'll come back next week. And boy, there were a lot of resolutions in this one.
In spades. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's read that summary, shall we? Abigail does some detective work and learns more about Gowan's dangerous conduct leading up to the mine disaster. Julie Thatcher is becoming closer with Nathaniel when the rest of the Tolliver gang arrives in Coal Valley. Dun, dun, dun.
Julie.
The entire time I was watching this episode, I mean, I did it the first time when I was watching it, but this time I knew it was coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going, oh. It's growing in intensity and in volume.
Yes, the groaning. But you know what? For me, because we've now talked to Charlotte, and now, just hearing her story about how she was going into portraying Julie, that was fun watching it back and seeing her also very young. I mean, Charlotte being young, because this was what, it's 2013, 2014?
Well, 2013 when they filmed it, yeah.
So 7.5, 8 years ago. So for me, that was fun to see, because it also kind of, I kind of sat back and was like, wow, you're really good. I mean, she's so good at playing the flighty, I'm in love.
Yeah, it's true.
Girl and everything. And Charlotte and I are the same age. So that was also interesting for me to watch back, because so 2013, I was 23. I was already married, and so seeing her play a character who was much younger than she
23
is. Yeah. So Charlotte, if she was 23, she was playing like an 18-year-old. So I mean, like
something
it's kind of
somewhere between 18 and 20.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun seeing her play somebody who was much more immature and much younger than she was in person,
Yeah, it's true. So you were already married by the time you were 23. How old were you when you got married?
I had to think about that. Almost 22. It was a few days before
Child bride.
I know. It was right 9 days after I graduated college, and 2 weeks before I turned 22. We'd
Wow.
known each other 5, 6 years then by that point. So,
Well, you got me beat on that one. I was 24. I was a couple months away from being 25.
yeah.
And I had, by the time we got married, I'd known him for 2 years. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were wee ones.
yeah. All right. Well, that's where Julie wanted to be, is in holy matrimony with Nathaniel.
Oh,
But
mercy. She is very immature and
very.
very stuck in a romantic book.
Mm-hmm.
Too many
Exactly.
ridiculous romance novels and too many ridiculous notions. Because even when I was watching it this time, I noticed there are certain things she would do or certain ways she would move or the way she would dart her eyes or talk. It was almost like she was catching herself like, oh, I in my mind I'm in a fantasy world, but then there's like that hidden snap of reality that comes in and she kind of snaps out and then she goes headlong back into the fantasy world. It was very interesting. It was almost like Julie was in her own play.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you would say that, because by the same token, that's what Nate did. It
Mhm.
I especially noticed it when she came in to shave him. She comes up the stairs and he goes, "I'm not hungry." And she says, "No, I've come to clean you up." And he's like, "Nah." He's getting grumpy and he's going back
Mhm.
to gangster Nate Tolliver. And
Mhm.
then uh and then and then he kind of takes a deep breath and puts a smile on his face and turns toward her and says, "Okay, clean me up, make me look like a real gentleman for you." And I went, "Oh my gosh, that's a little frightening."
It was Jekyll Hyde.
Yeah, yeah, it was Jekyll Hyde, and you could see the change. You could see him take on the pleasant persona and just like,
Mhm.
it kind of reminded me of how the devil would be, put on a pleasant face and then turn on you once he had you in his grip, you know. Oh,
Oof, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
yeah, that's a good one too.
Mhm.
Oh.
What got me with Nathaniel and his moodiness is
Yeah.
when Constable Riley comes up
Yes. Yes, let's talk
and
about that scene.
and he starts tensing up and you can just feel the tension just rise into the room
And when he
and
grabs
he grabs
that blade, the
the
shaving blade, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh
Like
my gosh.
and I was like, did anybody not see that? Like I'm pretty sure like maybe the constable noticed some shiftiness. Maybe he didn't see him grab the blade, but it
I don't, because his back was to Patrick and the tray was right there
mm,
and it was kind of lying there on the side.
yeah,
So,
maybe not.
with the camera, we had the right angle, but I'm pretty sure that from Patrick's perspective, he would not have been able to see it.
Yeah, but
I
ooh,
was I was certain. I was certain that he was gonna, the first time I saw it, I was certain that he was going to slice Patrick and grab Julie and go. I was
mhm.
certain that but I just went
I was waiting for him to flip a table or a
yeah,
bed or something.
something.
Oh,
Yeah, and then, when he puts the blade back, takes a deep breath, he's looking in the mirror, and is like, "Oh!" He goes back to he's very good at scary eyes,
he
John
is. Oh,
Reardon. John
he's very
Reardon is
good.
very good at scary eyes.
He's very good at scary eyes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then let's go to she finds when she finds him packing up. And
once again, he's getting a little desperate, and so he goes out of his good boy mode, and I've imposed long enough, and then you're going to leave me? You're going to leave without me? I mean, without saying goodbyes? Oh, Julie.
I mean, he was gruff, but in that moment he was not as scary, I would
No,
say.
not as scary, but you could tell that he had to put the persona back on.
Yeah,
Because then
true.
he says, I gotta get settled in a new life. And then, of course, he takes her by the face, and one you can be proud to be a part of. I'm just like, oh man,
gag me
like a fiddle, dude.
I was just cringing.
Here's me, I'm the fiddle. Here's my pencil as the bow. Play me. That's, oh my gosh. He played her like a fiddle. Oh my gosh.
Sure did. And
I mean, there's a picture of my mother in that knapsack. Oh, lay it on thick there, Nate. Come on. Oh my gosh.
He's a dirty dog, let me tell you.
A dirty dog.
Let me tell you, not only just playing on some lady's emotions, but bringing mama involved. No, sir. No, sir.
Can we also talk about the fact that he kissed her? I mean, it's one thing to talk pretty, but he kissed her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, did they both make the move together, or was it him? Did he make the move first?
She was not pushing him back.
She was definitely all in.
No, I think, I mean, once again, he was playing her, and so
of course
he had her by the neck, and we probably can't see it, but he probably kind of pulled her neck forward a little bit, and that was, probably at the first little tensing of his fingers, boom, she's in,
Right. I mean, makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me.
Oh, Julie. Julie.
And then you can borrow my horse. I'll draw you a map. I'm like, really, Julie? I have it in my notes. I'm like, really, Julie? Let me just give you my family fortune along with the jewels that right there on a silver platter. Let's just, gosh.
The map thing, I was like, okay, even the mayor's giving out free information to strangers. Yeah. Okay, whatever. When she said you can borrow my horse, I was like, is he gonna give it back to you? You think he's gonna
draw you a map? Just go back home, get the family fortune out of the bank and the safe and whatever, and just give it to him on a silver platter, because that's what you're doing right now.
And thank goodness that, to our knowledge, Nate Tolliver is not aware who he's dealing with.
Yes, because there is no way. I have every belief that if Jack hadn't showed up, they probably would have taken the money and gone. I'm pretty sure that they would have taken the money and just left them tied up to be found later.
Yeah.
Because there would have been no way of tracking them by then.
Well, no, I was talking about thank goodness.
No, but that's what I'm saying is if he had known, who he was dealing with, it would have been even worse.
Yeah.
Because he would not have just left them in that cabin,
Yeah, he would have taken them for ransom. Dangled them in front of Daddy Thatcher.
Yeah. Okay, and so we've inserted the knife into Julie's heart. She doesn't know that a knife has been inserted, but we've inserted the knife. We've twisted one way, we've twisted the other way, and then let's stick it in just a little bit further by wait for me. Oh my God.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. The man has no shame.
he has no shame. And you know, props maybe to Nate for tying it up with a bow with Julie. I mean, if you're gonna manipulate someone, at least go all the way. I mean, he did the full package. He
He
got the
did.
box, he wrapped it really nice, and he could have just left the box and given it to her, but no, he had to tie it up with a pretty bow, slap that bow on there and give it to her.
Mhm.
Oh,
Don't forget the curly ribbon.
oh, the curly ribbon. Definitely. There are lots of curls
Yeah, let's add a few more garnishes.
and maybe some glitter bombs.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Man,
Okay.
he laid it on so thick.
He
Oh,
mm, mm. Then he goes riding off into the sunset.
or
And
so we think.
Julie's heart is going pitter pat as she
Oh.
runs off to the saloon. And she goes, my favorite line, I'm in love.
You don't need to know someone a great while to share a kiss. And right there, that scene and the walking to the jail,
Mm-hmm.
I think that those two scenes alone show just how immature Julie is.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she's with Nate, we all know that she's acting stupidly, but the words coming out of her mouth sound very grown up. He says, you'll make somebody a fine wife one day. She says, I hope to.
Yeah.
She's saying things straight out of a romance novel, but that's her script in life.
Right.
So but those two scenes, she goes to the saloon. She tells Elizabeth that she works too much. She takes Elizabeth's tea and just
Notice
starts
that.
drinking it.
That's such a sister thing to do.
Yes. But doesn't even ask, doesn't make a gesture like, can I have a sip? Just takes it and just drinks it. And then she says, you don't need to know someone a great while to share a kiss, and I'm in love, and you don't want me to be happy because he's not rich and educated. I'm just, okay, sweetheart, why are you saying that to Elizabeth? I mean, of all people, for her to accuse somebody of saying that she's being foolish for dating somebody. I mean, he was supposedly courting her. She wasn't courting him. But but entering into a courtship with a man who is not wealthy, of all people to accuse, she's accusing Elizabeth of that.
Yeah, but that just shows you how blinded she really is, because
That's what I'm saying. But you're talking to the woman who is a step away and is kind of in a courtship with Jack,
right.
someone who is very educated, but who does not have money to spare.
Right. But in her mind, she probably thinks that he does have money because he's a Mountie and he's the hero of this story and he will be there to rescue you. And surely he has a lot of money. Or maybe it's the fact that the red surge is so bright and blinding that she doesn't realize. She's just like, red surge, good looking man. Nothing else
Must
matters.
have money.
Right. I mean, for Julie, somebody who's very sheltered and very young and naive and everything. Like,
but Daddy Thatcher has a lot of dealings with Mounties, so I figured that she would know a thing or two, but maybe she just didn't get involved.
It's Julie.
It's Julie. And
she probably wasn't paying attention.
The other thing is, who cares about what she knows? She's just lashing out. So she probably is saying the first thing that's coming to her brain.
100%. But I have to say,
yeah,
I was very proud of Elizabeth because she could have gone the better version of Viola, and she could have been like, you stupid, silly girl. How could you, what, blah, 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 blah. Because if it were my little sister, you best believe she would be hearing a good tongue lashing from me. It would not be pretty.
Uh-huh.
However, Elizabeth, after she, calmed down mentally, she got down on Julie's level and spoke Julie's language.
She got on her personal level with Billy Hamilton.
With Billy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is a smart move. If you want to get someone to listen to you, especially when it's
prime example,
touchy subject.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, because as soon as Julie heard Elizabeth's tale of Billy Hamilton and the guy that Julie did some researched,
yeah.
So she knew what a con man he was, but hearing it from Elizabeth's mouth, that's when the light bulb flipped, and that's when Julie was like,
I didn't tell you the whole story.
Like, not only did you not tell her the whole story, you made it up. Like, y'all made up a story. You didn't even tell the right story.
Right. And then immature scene number 2. Don't do this. It was his brother's gang. He was orphaned at 5. All he wants to do is become a better man and to share his life with me. When Elizabeth said, "Do you even hear yourself right now?" I'm like, thank you. Somebody said it. I have in my notes right here, roll eyes. They were rolling so far in the back of my head.
Yeah, I wrote, Elizabeth is hopping mad.
Oh, man. Okay, now, explain this to me. Elizabeth says that she's going to write Constable O'Reilly a note, and then they are going to go have a talk with Abigail. What? I mean, all Abigail's going to do is further say that she was dumb and foolish and that she's put the whole town in danger, but it's not going to do anything. I mean, I couldn't understand why she said, I'm writing this note to Constable O'Reilly, and then you and I are going to go have a talk with Abigail. Like, what for? Go look for Constable O'Reilly. This is serious.
I think, okay, so Elizabeth's only been in the wilderness for 6 or so, 8 months. We don't really know. Less than a year. She's still not as street savvy as one might be. She's getting smarter, obviously, but she's still not street savvy when it comes to the prairie life and dangers. I think in her mind, it's probably Nate has gone off, and so we're probably okay for now. He probably won't come back at this moment. We have some time. So she was probably thinking, okay, O'Reilly, she wrote a note to the constable and probably said something like, come see me ASAP. And then with Abigail, it almost reminded me of, I'm taking you to see Mom, and you're
I was just gonna say that.
Mom, and Mom is going to lecture you, and Mom is going to
handle this.
And maybe Abigail really can't do much, because what is she gonna do? Fend off 5 men? But she has lived on the prairie much longer, so she would have the smarts to know what to do next. Whether it's, do we round up all the Pinkertons? Do we befriend Gowan and help, beg for help? Or do we wire for more Mounties? I think that was kind of the idea, was Elizabeth is taking that sister role on, marching Julie to their second mom.
Their stand-in.
Yeah, stand-in mom. Mom's gonna lecture, and then Mom's gonna figure out what's gonna happen next. That was kind of my thought, because it was very much a big sister thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just thought that it was a complete waste of time. You're gonna write a note to Constable O'Reilly instead of, they don't know that he's following Nate right now, which shows that he's a smart man. But I would be going around town looking for him. You know, like Constable O'Reilly, we have a situation. And then if they couldn't find him, then go talk to Abigail.
Yeah.
You know, we can't find him. What do we do now? So I don't know. I thought that was a very odd move. Yeah, it was like going to mom, but it was like, go have a talk with Abigail. What?
Maybe it was one of those ideas of like when somebody is like stay put where you are, because they'll come back to home base.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, when somebody's lost, or if you're trying to look for someone and you're like, okay, just stay where you are, and eventually they'll come running. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But speaking of, we have some visitors in Coal Valley who decide to have a drink at the saloon, a little shot of whiskey, and bless the mayor who gives out free information so that they can go to Abigail's.
One thing that I really noticed in this episode was Joe's fierce loyalty of Nate. You know, the one guy I don't think says much, if anything.
No.
But the other one, I don't even think that he has a name. But the other gang member, he's talking about deserting the gang. He just wants his money.
Yeah.
And he's saying that Nate took the money and ran and blah blah blah, and Joe's like, no, not Nate. And all of that. And just like, man, there's a lot of honor between those thieves, you know.
Yeah.
Joe had a very fierce loyalty to Nate Tolliver.
Yeah. I don't know.
Go figure.
Yeah. But they barge into that cafe, and oh boy.
And Abigail tries to stay cool. I mean, the three of them know who the three of them are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 100%. The moment that they step in the cafe, they know who those men are. They're not that stupid. Not even Julie.
Julie's bug-eyed.
Yeah.
Her eyes are as wide as saucers.
So yeah, Abigail tries so hard to handle it well, and you know, that's when and Julie's still trying to stick to the story. He got shot and it gave him time to think. And if you really love your brother, then you'll let him blah blah blah. And he's like, brother? Nate ain't got no brother.
Of all times for Julie to say something. I'm like, Julie, Elizabeth has already told you. Bad idea. Red flags. This is not right. Be quiet. Of all times, Julie, be quiet.
And the other really big sister move was when Elizabeth tried to get the gang to take her instead of Julie.
Yeah.
I thought that was heroic.
Oh, yeah.
I wondered beyond being her little sister, why she would do that. And the thought occurred to me that maybe she thought she could handle it better.
Oh,
maybe she thought that she could handle it better than Julie could.
Oh, yes.
Julie was in shock and in denial and in everything else you could possibly be in.
Yes. I think Elizabeth was worried that Julie was just going to get herself shot, or Julie was going to accidentally play into somebody else getting hurt.
Right.
Or she would just cause way more damage if she were the one taken, whereas at least Elizabeth can keep her hand over Julie's mouth, so to speak, and just tell her to be quiet. Because Elizabeth, I mean, like I said, she's not as street savvy as season 7 Elizabeth, but she's getting there. Yeah. She knows she's smart enough to know how life works, and that she is about to be held for ransom. somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
But
And
did you
what?
I have to say really quick, one comical moment is when one of the guys said, "Tie up the cook." And I was like,
Tie up the cook.
listen,
the
Abigail's not just some cook. Come on now. Come on.
It shows what you know. So leading into our grouse about Gowan segment, we see Jack and Patrick come into Gowan's office to ask if they can deputize some of his men to go after Miss Thatcher and her sister, as Jack puts it, being very professional, bless his heart, especially at a time like this. And this is grouse about Gowan, big time. Oh, what's
my
it say?
notes? It says Gowan, 3 exclamation marks, nefarious. And this is the other part this part got me kind of like, oh, Jack, why did you have to say that?
Say what?
The gang has taken Miss Thatcher and her sister. I was like, couldn't you have just said the Tulliver gang is about to rob you? Because you just made listen, Sir Jack Thornton, everybody knows that you are in love with her, okay? You may not realize that, well, you probably are realizing at this point, but you probably don't know that everybody else knows that you love her. So, that being said, Jack, next time you want to save the town, maybe don't throw her name in it. Maybe use the town. The real town, not the figurative town now, okay?
That's a season. Was that 6 or 7?
I don't know. Post Jack. However, that was my one.
That's a season 7 joke.
That was my tiny little gripe with Jack in this.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. My gripe was with Gowan that it's not company business.
That too. I mean,
then those girls got themselves into trouble. You know, he kind of has a point with Julie. You know,
he does have a point with Julie.
He has a point, but poor Elizabeth, she didn't do anything wrong. You know. But it's not company business, so he won't let them have any of their Gowan.
You especially with Gowan being the law and playing out of both sides of his mouth, being all like, it's not official company business. But what are you doing? Throwing official company business in the fire.
I know. And we find out that Noah is not responsible. Abigail doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And the file that she found in Gowan's office may imply that Noah's not responsible, but the rest of the files are getting burned, and Noah is not responsible for any of the corners cut, but now nobody will ever know that for sure. Because the files are being destroyed. So can I just say, Abigail, we all knew that she was savvy, but man, that lady is smart. I mean, when she goes into the office looking for the files and she pulls out the letter already written, and then when she has to hurry and lock up, and she just finishes the last letter on her name, I'm like, oh, you are good, girl. You are good.
That was a pretty terrific move.
That was an excellent move.
Because that letter would have taken about 5 minutes to write. So
yeah, I don't know why the Pinkertons were so suspicious at that point, because that takes a letter with constantly dipping the ink and all that. That would be
Mhm.
pretty typical for that
Yeah.
time, but whatever.
I mean, maybe they were thinking she was just writing a note that said, "Hello, Mr.
Thanks for
Gowan.
everything.
Thanks for your help. Here are some muffins. Enjoy." Smiley face. But I remember when she was snooping through all those drawers, I was like, he's gonna walk in. He's gonna walk in. He's gonna walk in. Oh, my heart.
And oh my gosh. And then when Gowan goes and says, "You brought pastries," I had to ask myself why. I was just being neighborly. Is that all? Maybe you wanted to see me. I'm like, oh, ew, 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 ew.
So it kind of made me wonder
Oh,
watching this.
I wonder who.
Wonder what's in the wonder ball. Okay. Um So we know from talking to Chad Willett that there were some creative I don't know, discussions on how to take the series,
Yeah,
because he had mentioned that maybe him, his character committing self-harm would be too far
right.
for When Calls the Heart. So it kind of made me wonder watching this, is had this not been on Hallmark per
Mm-hmm.
se, would the storyline played out with Abigail and Gowan, because the trial isn't until beginning of season 2, right?
Yeah.
Which means they would have had time to fix everything. But my question watching this was, were they going to write it so that Gowan actually was like purposefully killed off Noah Stanton specifically to get to Abigail?
Oh,
Because the way, if you
oh.
watch it back this time and you are seeing it, it's like when I watched it, I watched 1 and 2 together in one flail swoop, right? So it all kind
Oh,
of plays
okay.
into the story. But watching it back segmented and watching it very specifically for specific characters and seeing how they're growing and seeing how they've changed over the years,
Uh-huh.
I didn't really, it didn't strike me the first time watching it around how flirtatious Gowan is with Abigail and how
Mm-hmm.
manipulative he is with her and how
Yeah,
just like he's laying it on thick. Like he's trying to emotionally manipulate her and he's always like, I thought
big
you're gonna
time.
see me. How about we take a walk together? How about we eat at, my treat, whatever. Like he's purposefully like throwing himself at her, and Abigail's constantly resisting his advances. And so I was kind of wondering if it was going to come out later that he had because he and the Stantons would have had a lot of interactions together if Noah was the right hand man, because
Yeah.
usually they have that kind of a relationship. And maybe he
Yeah.
got jealous of Noah and having a good wife and son or whatever. And he said,
Pull,
"Love, I am going to kill for love."
pulling a King David, huh? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow. I
Because why
I ne-
he's that flirtatious with her?
yeah, yeah, very flirtatious. I don't know. I've never thought about that, but who knows?
I
Who
mean,
knows?
other than like, is he flirtatious with her to have fun? Like, what is the purpose of him
I think
having
he's flirtatious to try to manipulate her when she's in when she's in her vulnerable spot,
Mhm,
but he doesn't know her well enough to know that Abigail will not be manipulated.
mhm,
But he probably does know that, but he wants to keep preying on it to see that he'll wear her down, but Abigail will not be worn down.
mhm,
And I don't think I think that he's just trying to exert power over her.
mhm.
That's why he flirts with her. He's trying
Yeah.
to make her feel weak, but we all know that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It was just an interesting thought because I was like,
That's a thought. That's a very interesting thought.
hmm. So
All right, Kaycee, are you ready to ding-a-ling-a-ling? Yak about Jack!
He's back.
Hashtag Jack is back. Okay. So the first time that I saw the scene where he is by the fire and he pulls out the book and he's got a picture of her in the book, I went, oh, and then he starts writing her a letter, and then he rips it out, throws it in the fire. I'm like, no, don't do that, Jack. That just, I mean, like I said before, this relationship is going really, really deep for how new it is and for how little they've done. You know, I mean, of course, we're at a very different day and time when you didn't kiss until you were close to engagement. You know, so that's, you know, so I don't think that it's that weird that they're talking so seriously before they've kissed, but it just kind of dawned on me that, you know, I mean, this is getting in pretty deep. And he's already got a picture of her, and and just the way that they talk together and the way that they were acting towards one another, and just like, wow, this is in pretty deep. And then he leaves, and it's so sad, you know.
But word on the street is the Tolliver gang is headed towards Coal Valley.
Oh man.
And who do we know that's still left in Coal Valley? Miss Elizabeth Thatcher.
Miss Elizabeth Thatcher. That scene when Jack comes upon the second set of Mounties, because he runs into two sets of Mounties. And when he runs into that second set of Mounties, and they go through that whole conversation about how they found Nate Tolliver's horse and all that, and then he says, where do you think he is? Little coal mining town called Coal Valley. And just Jack's eyes bug out. And he doesn't wait to get more information. He doesn't say, are you sure? His eyes bug out. He turns and he just says, yeah. And he and Sergeant are out of there.
This time watching it around, I was like, no, Jack, just say, come on with me.
I know. That's what he should have done. He should have said, this way.
Come on, men.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then, oh man, for all of Patrick's smarts, he got outsmarted. He got outsmarted and he got whacked over the head.
He did. And you know, I was a little surprised at this, but then again, I thought about it, kind of mulled it over and stuff. And I thought, I wonder if Patrick kind of let his guard down because it's Coal Valley. You know, nothing too bad can happen in Coal Valley. Unlike,
but he followed after Nate because he was very suspicious of him. So
yeah, but he was probably thinking, one-on-one, we got this.
That's a good point. But I just love the fact that Jack starts untying him and he says, "Is Elizabeth okay?" And then
tell us how you really feel, Jack.
I know. And then when they're sneaking into the cafe, he quietly calls out Elizabeth with his gun drawn and everything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, he cares about her so much. You know?
Someone's feelings are being known.
Yeah, the only problem is no one's there to hear it. Oh man. Now, this is where the whole love comes first part is interesting, because Nate's got Elizabeth and he says it. I got your woman, Mountie. Yeah, and I mean, what do you do? I don't know if you ever saw the TV show Jag, but Catherine Bell was in it. She was the star for many, many years. And at one point she's dating a CIA guy. He's a spy basically. And he's on an assignment to assassinate an assassin. And the assassin is right next to Mac, who is Catherine's character. And he takes a shot, he missed, and he could have hit her. And when she says it, like, that's a little cold. And he said, I didn't see you, I saw the job. Then when I saw that I almost killed the woman that I love, I had to come back here to my family home and regroup. And I just thought, that is what Jack could be doing. He could see the job, and he could just not disregard her, but put his feelings aside for her for the sake of the job. He doesn't let his feelings for Elizabeth distract him, but he doesn't disregard them either, which I think is a really good balance.
I think it motivates him.
I think it does too. That's a huge motivation.
Because when Gowan tells him, you're on your own, basically, he has to get creative because he knows there's at least 4 or 5 guys versus him and Patrick. Right. And so he has to, like, what is he going to do? Is he going to risk that? And he's got to save 2 women. I mean,
Yeah.
So I feel like the adrenaline must have been pumping in Jack because he's also got Elizabeth at the forefront of his mind, and he's thinking outside of the box.
And boy, did he. Just like Sam said, I don't think that tablecloth maneuver was in your training.
Right. But like, that's exactly my point. Like, why? Yeah. Who would have thought of that? What would motivate someone to think of that?
Yeah.
Unless they were desperate enough because of someone or something to get them to that point.
And the other thing that I love is you really see that Jack and Elizabeth, even though things aren't completely settled between them, they're a team.
Oh, yes.
She doesn't just sit there like a victim. She yells out, Jack, there are 4 of them and they're all armed. She really cries it out to him. And then the knife, Jack, he has a knife. They are a team.
Oh yeah,
they are a team. So your nitpicky grouse with Jack was the fact that he said Elizabeth instead of the town. Here's my nitpicky thing with Jack. When he disarms Nate Tolliver again, and with the knife, and Elizabeth runs up to him and grabs him by the shoulders and says, Jack, are you hurt? And hugs him. I was waiting for him to fully take her in his arms. Because, and I wrote pretty much the entire line down. I kept on pausing and playing. When I was out there, when I thought that you were in trouble, when I thought there was even a chance that you were in danger and I wasn't here, I had nothing on my mind but getting back to you. And I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow, but I don't want to regret not telling you what I was thinking, what I am feeling. I can't leave without telling you that I care. Like, really? you almost died. She almost died, and you only can say I care. But so I guess that's my second grouse. But the fact that the moment that he heard that she even might be in danger and he wasn't there, seeing her safe and then actually rescuing her and knowing that she's safe, man, I mean, if it were me, I'd be kissing. But we're not there yet in Coal Valley. I would have expected him to fully take her in his arms because she hugged him. She hugged him, and I was just expecting him to take her in his arms and just hold her close because she was safe.
Mm-hmm.
And and she even says how safe I felt in Jack's arms when he came to my rescue. I'm like, but his arms aren't around you.
True technicalities.
That's my one little grouse. But even though it's a grouse, the tone quality of Jack's voice with I care. Like, that's like Han Solo saying I know. Be still, my heart.
Oh, and the look on Elizabeth's face and her eyes.
Yes, because when Abigail and Julie and Elizabeth were having tea, Julie says, he came back for you. Elizabeth says, he came back for the town. And so I had nothing on my mind but getting back to you. And she says, really? Not quite that dumbfounded, but she says, really? And I wrote down here, well, it disproves that theory.
Well, I mean, Hope Valley has a thing about the town. I did write that down too. He came back for you. He came back for the town. And I was like, yes, he did come back for the town.
You're using later knowledge.
I'm using later knowledge for season 1, but I couldn't help but giggle about it.
We've got guilty knowledge here.
Guilty knowledge. Hopefully you all have seen seasons 1 through 7 by now.
But anyway, the last thing I'm going to say about Jack, I asked a friend what she thought about the show because I introduced her to it. And she said, he's very changeable. And I went, yeah, he is, because he felt himself getting in too deep, shook himself and says, see you soon. And out he goes because he still has a job to do. He's got to escort those men to trial. And, and the first time we called it the eyes shining moment. And the first time he did that, she looks up and he immediately shakes himself out of it, So, yeah, for those first several episodes, he was very changeable. And it's not until after he gets comfortable with his feelings and then actually confesses them that he's able to let that changeableness merge into just the way he is. Yeah. And then we have the final moment, which I think is very sweet, when Julie reminds Elizabeth that she used to stay up and watch out for monsters so Julie could go to sleep. Thank you for being my big sister. Thank you for being my little sister.
They have such a sweet relationship. Elizabeth has the patience of a saint with her little sister.
She really, really does.
I hope my girls are like that.
I I don't know that I can say that that's happening with my kids. But one more thing I'm going to say about Julie is when she says, "I'll never let myself be so easily used again." I went, "Really?"
Oh boy.
Oh boy. And that will be continued in season 2.
2.
So we will get back to that. Kaycee, are you ready for Cammie's quiz?
Sure.
Okay. What was Jack's father's name?
Oh, Thomas Thornton.
Very good. What was the label on the file that Abigail found?
The label on the file.
So the
Oh.
file that Abigail found that proved that there were corners cut, what was it called?
Oh,
What
I
was
don't
the
know. I
Okay.
didn't look at that.
Safety procedures protocols or protocol.
Okay.
So
That
there
makes
you go.
sense.
Okay. So Nate Tolliver called himself Nathaniel Miller. And and he said that his people are in
Oh, Fort Mill?
not the city.
Oh.
What's
Oh,
their
in
job?
lumber?
What's
No,
huh?
in timber,
Keep
right?
going.
Timber milling?
Logging.
Logging. Okay.
Logging.
I knew it had to do with like
Something to
big
be with.
chunks of wood.
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Oh, like a little
Lee coming in
foreshadowing?
with Lee coming in with the lumber
Oh.
mill.
Oh.
I don't know.
I know.
Okay. The Pinkertons' name. That was
Oh.
Gowan's stooge.
Samuel?
It's a Mr. It's a Mr. something.
Mr. Stewart?
Nope.
Mr. Stanley?
It doesn't start with an S.
Oh. Mr. Oh, I don't know.
Mr. Richardson.
Richardson. Mm.
Yes. Mr. Richardson. Okay. And in that scene where Abigail and Elizabeth and Julie are having tea, Abigail said that Nate played on Julie's two things.
Heartstrings and emotions.
Very poetic, but no.
Oh, goodness and oh my goodness. He played your goodness and innocence.
Yes.
Yes.
Different order, but you got it.
Yay.
Nice job. All right, Hearties, thank you so much for joining us in our little chat about episode 10 of season 1. Love comes first, not duty this time. Love comes first. And join us next time for the very, very fast-paced loss of breath and quick moving, and I would even say slightly controversial where characters are concerned episode number 11, where we have two very new characters step in with whom we are both familiar very much now.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited. I'm also very petrified.
It's so well titled too, rules of engagement. Because boy, does a certain someone bring her own set of rules.
Yeah. again, excited because you all know I love Pascal. However,
But
petrified because this is season 1, Rosemary. Who is
very
a different
different
person
from
from
season
season 7, Rosemary.
And you have to host.
Yay! Oh boy. This will be fun, you guys. This will be fun because Rosemary is a fun character to hate in season 1.
She sure is. All right, everybody. Stay safe out there. Stay happy. And remember, our hearts are all knit together, Hearties. Because we're all in this together.
See you next week.
Bye.